Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. It is, and we're as always brought to you by Reckless Coffee Roasters, which is in right we go. It is Monday. Grumpy is here in all his glory, and as grumpy as can be. I'm pretty grumpy myself. It's been a long night and traveling and all that stuff. But Matush is here, saying there's always next year. What's going on?
I'm just trying to find any positive spin on anything. I'm not quite at Kazi level of happiness with the wrapped up Champions League qualification and a trophy, but I'm like a 70 out of 100 there, so that's all right. I'm happy to be here. Not as grumpy as you, I think, but not as happy as Kazi. So I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think somewhere. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's been pretty rough because we didn't get in yesterday till like 1:30 ish, maybe.
Mm.
Because the flight. I mean, we always do this where we fly out late, but then it got delayed a little bit, and then midway was a mess and stuff like that. So yeah, by the time we got home, it was around like 1:30 or something like that. So and then it's raining. Stitch is not happy. If Stitch isn't happy, Leo isn't happy. So yeah, that's what I had to deal with all night after that. So yeah, but back from Colorado, where it was, I'm telling you, full of experiences. If they've never been, have you been?
I've been, yes, I to Denver last year or 2 years ago, excuse me.
How was Denver, by the way? Because we didn't go. I mean, Denver, apart from the ridiculously big airports, we didn't hang out there much. We kind of like went right over to like Colorado Springs.
Yeah, it was. We were visiting my best friend there, and so it was just for 3-ish days. So we saw the kind of all the quintessential Denver things. It was fun. It was nice. It
What
was
are the
not.
quintessential things in Denver?
Uh,
Mile High Stadium, like
so,
what?
so some of the buildings, yes. The Red Rocks, of course. That was fun to climb around, and that was pretty much it. I don't know. I think geographically, for us, it was really nice because where we're at here. If you go look outside, you don't see anything. There are no mountains. There might be a little hill here and there to look at, but other than that, there's just nothing as nature wise around us. So it was just nice to be around all that.
Yeah, Cassie, by the way, says whenever we as supporters of this league and this club have a conversation about the 115 charges against City, there was like a thing saying it's always almost here. We're almost gonna have the hearing, just like it's right around the corner, right around the corner.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
almost
God
have
knows.
almost have faith in that system as much as I have faith in the VAR system.
Yeah, unfortunately, right? I don't know which one is straight. Oh, Ryan says lived in Colorado for 6 years. If you want to see the state, go to the Western Slope,
Mm.
wherever the heck that is.
It's on the
It's
west, Timothy.
what was that?
It's on the west.
Oh, in the west of the slope, or the slope that is on the west.
Whichever slope you're skiing on, just make sure it's the western one, and you'll see the real beauty.
Yeah, no, we went to like Colorado Springs. Trayson, who's with the supporter club over there, gave me some tips and stuff too. And then wifey organized all these like activities designed around torturing me. It feels like now looking back as we were flying back, I was like, I think I was tortured in every single possible way. I don't do good with heights, and I don't
Interesting.
do good with a lot of things, but I don't do good with I don't with the poor Liverpool form. But I don't do good with um like close spaces, like tight spaces
Mm.
where there's like a lot of people and
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's very rare, but there are times where I'm like, everybody's gonna get out of the way. Um, I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. So we were in a cave, so that obviously affects the
Ooh, that's
ladder.
that's tough. Yeah.
We did the waterfall thing where you go sky high, like look at that. We did all that stuff. The worst thing we did, I gotta share this story because I mean, talking about the light flashing in front of your eyes.
Here we go.
Um, so on our first day, we're right by the what is it? Garden of Gods. We're like right there. We were staying right there. So they do these like tours with the horses where you because you can kind of like walk around the trail and like you said, it's kind of interesting to us. You're like, oh, look, rocks, look, a mountain and stuff like that. But then you can kind of like do that. But then you can also ride the horses. There's like a 1 hour tour, 2 hour tour where you kind of like go around. Have you ever ridden a horse, by the way?
Nope, and I will not.
Do
So,
not. Yes.
so I'm already. I'm just getting tense hearing about it. To be honest with you.
So the only time we've ever done this was like horse riding wise, is we did it in like Dells, like Wisconsin Dells, where they, have a dog that's like 180 years old. Like his cousins are dinosaurs. They're like walking you around. Like the horse is like, whatever, dude, just put on top of me anything. I know the route. Like you really don't have to do anything. It's a very short route. Well, this one, I mean, you're kind of going around the whole thing. So bear in mind, one, I don't do good with heights. And I know this is not a lot high, but you're not controlling the motion. Like I get motion sick if I play games where I'm not controlling the motion.
Right.
So you're not controlling the motion. Horse is pretty much in control in terms of, where we're going to suddenly go, like, because you're going up and down hills and stuff like that. So they get you over there. It's a group of 6. Angie's there having a great old time. So they're like, hey, the horses don't get along. Which, why are you guys grouping horses that don't get along? Right? Like the other horses didn't have this problem in Wisconsin. It must be the cheese. Like,
by the way, these two fucking hate each other. That's great.
It's Mo and Mane over there. They're trying to separate them.
That one didn't pass the hay the other day. I mean, it's a mess.
We put Bobby in the middle, like so. Yeah, literally, he says like some of the horses don't get along together. So I'm gonna tell you guys the order, and that's how you guys are gonna get on the horses, so that they line up the 6 horses that somehow get along, like they don't conflict or whatever. So they're like, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I get this Beth, and what a bitch she was. So I get Beth, the horse. So get on Beth, like you're going like, I mean, it's like an hour ride, dude. First of all, a sore butts, and I didn't even feel my right leg when we were all said and done. But so we kind of like gets going, and then there's a dude on the top who's like like a young cowboy kind of a dude. And then there's a girl behind me with another horse, right? So we're going. I mean, so after all the work that goes into organizing these goddamn horses that they get along, the horse behind, my horse does not like, and I'm the last one. So when these horses get too close to each other, the other one gets irked. So I'm trying to calm mine down because Angie's in front of me, and Angie's horse is occasionally turning around, like giving bad looks, like you guys are way too fucking close, kind of thing. So I'm kind of like trying to hold mine back, and then but she is right behind me. So whenever I hold mine back, suddenly we're too close with the other one, and I'm like, well, I don't want that risk either. So literally, we went towards like the thing. I don't know, like maybe like 5 minutes in, right before you get to the hills, you kind of like actually go down the streets, like literally a residential street slowly and stuff. So they kind of like stop you right there, and they check you again. I don't know why they don't check you in the beginning, but they check you, make sure like your stuff did not get loose from when you got on the horse and stuff. Yeah, this is a long story, by the way, but it's well worth it, trust me. So so right when that happens, well, obviously the girl behind me gets really close. Well, mine made this sound like an alarm clock, like or something like that. I was like, whoa, 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 what are we doing over here? And then they're like, oh yeah, Beth does not like whatever the other one's name is. And I'm like, well, then stay the fuck back. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but let's put some distance over here. So, we get sorted out. It was kind of tense, but it's okay. Like they calmed down because the other girl was on the ground and he was like, petted Beth or whatever. We're all happy. So we get on the course, and mind you, the guy says, hey, when we go up and down hills, I'm gonna give you guys more specific directions then. So when you're going down the hill, you're supposed to lean back. When you're going up the hill, you're supposed to I don't know if I'm helping the horse, helping myself not fall. I don't know what that was going on. So we're like going up and down hills. I am like hating the experience overall. I mean, the Fitbit thought I was doing an intense workout because I was so sick.
It almost dialed 911 for you.
It thought it was like some intense activity. So we're going up and I mean, there's like a lot of hills. I mean, it's really, really cool if you're not stressed out of your life because you're on this horse that's trying to kill you. But so like we're going, and then every time we get close to Angel, I have to yank this guy up and down hills. And then the dude is all the way in front, like telling you the story and stuff. Well, I can't hear what the hell he's saying. Angie can't either. So the girl behind us says, hey, if you guys can't hear, don't worry. I'll be repeating it when we get there because as we go past things, he's talking about things. Well, I mean, she feels the need to get close or something for some reason. So she's like telling me the stories like, I'm like, dude, that's fine. Just stay back because we got like getting really nervous over here. Dude, we went around the corner. I think this is like 3/4 in the thing. And I don't know what the hell happened. Like everybody slowed down for a second. And then so, I had to slow down. Well, the girl behind me did not. Mind you, she works there, like she's in charge. Like you would think she would be a lot more alert to it. Dude, my guy went ape shit. Like I'm talking like front legs up in the air, I'm like a freaking rodeo over there. But here is where gaming pays off, kids. I went back to my Red Dead Redemption instinct.
And you shot the horse.
No, I pressed L2 as hard as I could. So I yank him and I'm like, whoa! and then everybody turns around and they're like watching me, like pretty much do rodeo in the middle of the path over there. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I was like, like how you can think 1,000 things within like 3 seconds? Yeah. I'm like, is it going to throw me off? Because it felt like I was going to be thrown off. But I'm like, it can't really throw me off because I had like the legs are tied in. So I'm envisioning, I mean, in this literally 2-second gap, like that the cartoons where the character goes around and every time the horse goes, the head bounces on the ground. I'm like, I think that's what's gonna happen at the end over here. He's gonna kick me or something. Yeah, like to the point, dude. Like when we were leaving, and then we come back, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, Beth is named after the character in Yellowstone, like the really feisty chick or whatever." Like, yeah, she can get like that. I'm like, well, now you guys are telling me, like, what the hell is this? And then, like, one of the girls that we were riding along with, she's like, we were really worried about you back then. I'm like, thanks.
Oh my!
I'd
be done.
Here's my lesson learned: don't ride a goddamn horse. Just walk. Let's not be lazy over here. Oh my! Just get off the horse and walk.
I can't imagine. I would. In my mind, I'm thinking you ask the group if anyone is experienced in horse riding, potentially, and put the person who has the most experience on potentially the feistiest horse. That makes sense in my head. That way you don't have to go through a scenario of possibly dying.
And like, I don't remember them giving this much instructions when we were in Wisconsin Dells. They were like, hey, if you want to go right, yank him right. It was like very basic. No, I mean, he went to detail. He's like, when you guys do this, he'll do this. You don't want to hurt the horse, which I understand. So you got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm like, okay. But he went, hope he's okay. Sir Z. Oh, Sir Z's talking about football flashback.
Not the horse.
Only shows, I thought it was talking about I'm like, nobody cares about the horse. I'm the more important one over here. Football flashback only shows up on Wednesdays when he has to place bets. But yeah, like not only that, you would think after you put so much effort into separating these dogs that are feisty, why would you follow the group with the one that hates the one on the end of the group that you set up, by the way? It's not like I was like, I'll be all the way in the back over here.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it was quite the experience. I mean, afterwards we laughed a lot. Well, Angie laughed throughout. I only laughed afterwards. Angie had a good old time throughout the whole thing. But yeah, but hey, if you're not gonna ride a horse, I definitely recommend the Colorado Springs area over there. Mind you, the game was at 5:30 over there.
Yeah.
So we were contemplating it, but by the time we got back and stuff like that, so I ended up watching it in the hotel room, kind of like on my phone, and suffered in that sense that way. But we'll probably talk a lot about the game. Maybe I don't even know how much the tactical stuff makes a difference now in terms of like to get into. But obviously the biggest conversation, and there's more news coming in today about Mo. If I can share the right screen, we'll see.
I would like to say, obviously we're going to get into Mo. There is full confirmation now. Liverpool and Feyenoord have signed all documents for Arne Slot's imminent move to LFC. So everything is signed and taken care of. Both clubs will announce something in this next week.
Nice. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Well, let's start with that. So I am not understanding this. Like nobody's ever happy. I kind of like see this in different. I think it's just, I don't know, it's part of being a fan maybe for some people, but like nobody's ever happy about they're like, oh, why do we get this guy? First of all, like the whole Dutch thing, like it's like a manufacturing plant over there. They're like, I realize they look very alike, but if they get in a fight, my money is on our guy, with Ten Hag, right? He looks like he can throw Ten
Schlott
Hag
has
around.
like he has that kind smile, but he could kick your ass kind of
Yes.
look. Whereas Ten Hag, he doesn't have a kind smile, but he also can't kick your ass. So he's just like it just like they're I have the same mindset as you.
What a great game to watch on your phone, says Ryan. I mean, I don't even know. It was the game really that bad? It was like, it was more of the same. So it's bad in that sense. But I didn't think like, and now that's the thing. Like, I think as fans, we're like over the top negative with stuff. So everything gets like blown up. But yeah, I mean, where are you at with this guy? I think we talked about it before, but I'm
Yeah.
just going by the fact that if Edwards thinks this is the guy, and I am also getting the feeling that they thought this was the guy all along and really wanted to get his thing. And when they didn't, because like Amarim tried to do this West Ham thing to kind of put us in a tough spot to make a decision maybe before like we listened to Feyenoord or whatever the deal was. But if Edwards is cool with it, I'm cool with it. That's like kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to say unless it comes out in the future or what have you that where the actual rankings lied in terms of which manager they had above each other, because there probably was a sense of Xabi Alonso, definitely was a sense with Amorim, and definitely was a sense with Schlott, right? So I think personally, Amorim felt more like a manager where he wanted to have more of a say on players too, from my understanding of what I've seen and what he's like. So him going to West Ham and really trying to pressure Liverpool into giving him maybe more control than they possibly wanted to, because from what we've seen about Schlott is that he's going to be more of a head coach, more of a just a on the pitch kind of coach than actually behind the scenes manager. Like a lot of managers are. So he's definitely a little bit more hands off, and I think that bodes well with the structure that Edwards and Hughes want, in the sense that they want to be they want to have a huge say in the recruitment. Obviously, they want the coach to have some sort of input because he's going to be the one that's ultimately, driving these guys and being in training with them. But they don't want him to have so much control. So I think Schlott fits in that system well, because out of all the jokes of his name and his baldness and all that stuff, the only thing people don't joke about is his actual managing. People do say he's a good tactician, a good on the field manager. So, I like that. It's just, I think we've talked about it before. We just have an idea of where we're going, and it's before the end of the season. So we kind of just, take care of this, fine, enjoy the last 3 weeks now, and just kind of just go forth from there. And so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I've looked up every single thing with the Dutch league to have to do with Schlott. The one real negative that I've seen is him talking to Feyenoord while he was still managing AZ Alkmaar, kind of behind their back, and which led to him being sacked. But then he was hired by Feyenoord 10 days later. So if there's any sort of red flag, if you will, it's maybe a little bit of that, but I don't know if that's an entirely huge issue. But aside from that, the only negative things have been his name that people like to make puns out of, and the fact that he's bald. So, if that's the worst, then bring him on, right?
I mean, how many times are we going to do the? I mean, it's still going to be done. I mean, it's a dad joke.
He
Like he's
slots right
slotting
in.
him in. I mean, come on, it's just there. It's like a beach ball. Ryan says I'm okay. See, Side says our problem with the VG is they're poor financial. This is a myth, people. Like really a myth. Unless you're comparing it to oil money, it's a myth that money has not been spent. You can argue that maybe not spent as wisely at times. Like a couple of players with like big money, like maybe like Nunez or something like that. But that's not on Edwards because he was way gone by then. I think Ryan, I do feel like we have 3 managers over the next 8-10 years. I hope not, because that means we're not doing so hot. But I mean, Amorim, I heard both, which now we don't care. We don't have to go. But he even admitted that he made a mistake in the whole West Ham ordeal, both with his own club and kind of basically got some bad advice and then followed it, and it kind of backfired. And honestly, at that point, when you try to do that, even if you're like number one choice over Slot, I think you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're not gonna play those games, so I guess you're gone, like you're out. You kind of like burned your bridges, kind of a deal. But yeah, with like Slot, everybody's talking about, obviously his experience, but then people, you're either going to retread somebody. Like, I don't know if I was okay with Tuchel or somebody like that. Maybe more experience, yes. Maybe dealing with players, the stage, and all that kind of stuff. The Premier League, I get all that. But at the same time, I mean, we know the story, and if somebody is being bouncing around and you're like, oh yeah, we should get him, he goes everywhere, I mean, there's a problem there. I think after a while, because that guy is used to bouncing around. I like the fact that both of them are, and I guess all the three names that came up are not people who bounce around a lot. So they're more committed to what they're doing. If you get a guy who's used to bouncing around a lot, I mean, it's almost like, I don't know, if he doesn't like it, what does he care? In 2 years, he's probably going to be gone anyway. And that's not going to bug him because that's how he rolls. He's just going to get something else in 2 years. I guess that was probably like my biggest thing over there. But
he
yeah,
wants the job too, right? I mean, I think that's huge.
Yes.
That he's not, he understands it's a big undertaking. He understands there's a huge challenge that comes along with following Klopp, but he doesn't seem scared to do it, and he's excited for it. And I think that's what we really wanted out of the next person, whoever it was, is that they weren't worried to kind of to walk into this huge shadow of Jurgen Klopp over the club and try and do the best that they can do. And I think that's the most exciting part, is that he's not afraid of the challenge, at least not publicly.
Yeah,
he might be. He very well could be shitting his pants, when he's just sitting in his kitchen drinking coffee in the morning, going, "My God, what have I got myself into?" But he at least doesn't show it.
I mean, you got to figure. I mean, everybody is going to eventually take the step, right? I mean, whatever you're doing career-wise, you're going to eventually end up taking a step like that, and it is what it is. Vincento says second in the Eredivisie ain't good, but here's the thing: he's second. Well, then somebody can look and say the same thing about Klopp. Then, I mean, he's in the same boat of going against teams like Ajax and PSV, who spend a lot more, have a lot more resources, and for him to kind of like win once, and then really was on his way to win before COVID hit, and they canceled the whole thing there. They didn't just like pause it. I think is a good deal, and I don't know.
And that was at Alkmaar. That wasn't even at Feyenoord. That was at Alkmaar.
That was at Alkmaar, yes.
Yeah, which is,
and then Feyenoord got interested,
yeah.
And then he was interested. Alkmaar was not as interested in their interest, and they like fired him there. But I don't know. I almost feel like, I mean, like, I hear what Vincento is saying. He says Slot is gonna make Feyenoord 2.0, and that's probably a good thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm okay with. I think the style fits as well, like how he wants to play. I think it's gonna be more of a continuation. Like people were talking about Mourinho and stuff. So like, I mean, talking about from like going hot to cold, that would be a shock to the system there. And that's why I think like I'm overall okay with it. Like, let's see what the hell happens and what he does and how he plays and stuff like that. I just don't understand why before somebody even shows up, there's so much negative reaction to it. Nobody's going to be Klopp. So you can forget about that, and you're not going to do an even for even because he's a legendary manager for a reason, and you just don't pop legends out of your butt. So it's going to take some time to, and I think this might be the right guy. I like the fact that, like I say, he's young and stuff. I didn't want, honestly, Xabi coming over here with one eye on the Real job and seeing like, is Ancelotti still there? He is. Okay, then I'll stay here. Is he gone? And stuff. Yeah, I didn't want that. And this Amorim, I did watch a lot of stuff on him in terms of tactics, which I now regret. But so I'm wasted hours I'm never gonna get back. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm happy with this overall. I mean, it is what it is.
I just love how people talk about other leagues as if the Premier League has had one club win 7 of the last 8 titles.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're talking about the Dutch league that usually has either Ajax or PSV towards the top. Feyenoord's usually kind of a more of a darker horse. Sure, that's fine. Portugal is usually a 2-team race. Spain's usually a 2-team race. Germany's usually a 1-team race. Talk about this Premier League being this great league, blah, blah, blah. There's only been two different title winners in 8 years, guys. Yeah. I mean, yes, granted, I understand that City spends a lot of money. And I know I got shit for this before, but just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to be good. And I think we had a little bit of an argument when I said that this was maybe last year, and talking about the credibility of their titles, even though they were breaking the rules, because I said that they still ultimately have to perform on the pitch. So you, just because they're breaking these rules, you still have to have guys that play well. You still have to have a manager that gets the most out of them. And, credit to Pep for still getting the most out of some of those guys after winning 6-7 times. I mean,
Yeah, I remember this argument now, because my argument was, but you have those guys because you're breaking the rules. But I do understand what you're saying. There are a lot of people who spend the money with nothing to show.
Look at Chelsea. I mean, they spend all the money.
I understand that part of it. I mean, it's not a guarantee
Yeah.
that when you spend money, you're going to win. But in City's case, I mean, it enables you to do the crazy things that you do because of
Sure.
depth and stuff like that, because of all the shit. Like, hey, look, we got a sponsor on our ankles on the socks for $2 billion. Some generous donor to be named. Atletico Madrid won the league recently. When was that? What was that, like 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I said,
and I think that's an issue when you kind of be like, I remember that they won like 5-6 years. It's like a two-headed league there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh wait, Leicester City won the league once a year.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, if you're gonna go that way, it's
okay.
easy.
I mean, I think I said La Liga or Spain usually just a two-head race. Germany usually just a one-team race. I mean, yeah, there are going to be outliers, but when you have, I don't care about Leverkusen winning this season because Bayern won 10 of the last 11. Like, it just, I don't. And then City's on their way to do the exact same thing, right? At what point do we have a conversation about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's been, and that's why I think Premier League is kind of hurting themselves with the way they handle certain things. I mean, it makes it worse when you kind of go after the little guys and deduct them 2 points here, 1 point. And it's almost like, I think it's like getting the bad precedent sets, because now they're going to be like, oh, yeah, they're just going to do like 6 points for them or something like that, and not going to get a harsh punishment. Because we talked about this before when they did the points. Like, how are they even determining these points? It just feels very arbitrary right now. Like, it's like, what? 2.
Everton, 10.
Part says, I get the point about single teams dominance. Back to front, it's a much better league. Yes, I guess. And we kind of talked about this, actually about to be soon to be released in the Irishman, Scouser, and the Turk thing that we do for Patreon. We kind of talked a little bit about that, where the gap between the teams in the Premier League may not be as steep as maybe, like the Dutch league,
sure,
where you have the 3-4 big boys and then everybody else. Where in the Premier League, you do have maybe 2-3 really big boys, but then you have another like 5-6 pretty decent sized boys. And then even the guy, like towards the end, has so-and-so's national team striker as their striker. So they have a lot of talent that can hurt you and stuff like that. So there is that, I think, in terms of being able to, like, the gap is not that big. And that's why I think you see some crazy scores sometimes, because if one team is off of it, the gap is not that high. So you can kind of like level things off. Whereas, in the Dutch league, maybe, you would have to drop a lot to be able to. But at the same time, like I say, I like the fact that he was going against the big boys over there.
But
with full,
to slightly counter that, if top to bottom the league was as close as it was, you wouldn't have the 3 promoted sides drop back down the next year. I don't think that's a good indication of how tight the league really is if you can't even have one of the 3 promoted sides have a chance to stay in the league. I know it's not said and done yet. I know Luton still has a chance to get out, but I would think, and I'm not disagreeing with Partho, I'm just saying as a counter that you would expect at least 2 of those sides to be able to be fighting closer to staying up rather than pretty much being out of the picture already.
Yeah, I know what you mean there, but to me that says more about the gap between the Premier League and Championship than the other way around. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, where when they come up, they're like, whoa, what is happening up here? Like, when they get above water, they're like, whoa. Yeah. And then
you guys make how much?
So to me, that shows more of that. Like, and here's another thing: like some of these teams get up to the Premier League by loaning this guy, loaning that guy, right? That's like kind of like a championship formula there, where they're like, oh, we got Chelsea's guy loans here, we got this kid loan here. They take us up top. Those guys go back, and it's not as easy to fill those slots, regardless of how much money you're getting now to move up and stuff like that. But no, I know what you're saying in terms of the gap. I just feel like, even the worst teams in the Premier League have quality in certain areas, like top level quality, like international players and stuff like that can hurt you on a counter or whatever it might be. Sparky says, so yeah, let's get to this. See, I don't understand. See, this is this is a conspiracy theory that they fold against City. Why can't we just call it as it is, where they look like crap against City because City makes them look like crap against them, and they play like. I just don't buy that. I just do not buy that. So
it's just the best way for us to cope. I think for our fans, be like, well, yeah, it's not our fault. It's just that the other teams don't like to play against other teams, so they just don't play against them. No, that's
yeah. Bad. I don't think people are rolling over. I mean, because people could say the thing about us, when we were like rolling everybody over, they were like, oh, they're not. I mean, it wasn't like they weren't playing against us. We just did not play. Oh, Cersei's being. See, you can never tell with Cersei because he goes with a lot of conspiracy theories.
No, but that point has been made so many times, though, non-sarcastically, that whenever we see it, we have to react to it genuinely because people do actually feel that way.
City have been outspent, and that's the thing, and that goes back to money doesn't necessarily. And United is probably even a better example. I know, like the first thing that comes to mind is always Chelsea, but at least they suddenly injected a ridiculous amount, whereas United have been spending obnoxious every off season with zero to show for it. And I think going back, to finish out the slot thing, that's what makes me happy about this ordeal is. It's a structure. Everybody's getting, Edwards comes in, gets the guy he wants, and then now they get the manager they want. I'm kind of torn on getting a manager who's only a manager on the pitch and does not have as much input. I mean, some inputs, but probably not final say on who comes in and who goes out. Like if a good offer comes in, he's gone, man, sorry, kind of a deal. I mean, you see it in like the NFL and stuff a lot more. I think if the general manager and the head coach are not on the same page, like it's his guy, it's not his guy kind of a deal. But for the club long term, I think it's a better ordeal because the manager can't do a lot of short-term moves. The guy above still looks at the big picture. So the manager can't do a short-term move to save their ass. And the club comes before the manager's career or, their contract or whatever. But, United was. Go ahead.
And I would like to add to the City point, and we've talked about this before. They also sell too. They don't sentimentally hold on to players and let their contracts run out and get nothing for them. They're a bit more ruthless when it comes to that. Yeah, they've spent money, but they also do make sure to sell players. That is what helps that system keep going. Is that Pep's not holding on to guys for the sake of holding on to them. If anyone feels like they have an inkling to go, fine, see ya. João Cancelo was one of the best fullbacks in the league. And like, whatever, see ya, go to Bayern then, I don't care. Yeah. Gundogan made that midfield the engine it was. Wants to go, fine, let him go. And I think, they've hurt a little bit this year without him, but ultimately they are ruthless when it comes to selling as well. And I think that you need a bit of that. I don't think you want to lose all sentimentality, but you also need to understand that sometimes you just need to sell players when they're ready to go.
Ryan says, I feel like we're biding time before we talk about the elephant in the room. So we're gonna get to that because I want to get your take first because I think I have like a very different take from everybody else. Maybe because I was far away on my phone looking at
this. You just couldn't really see it.
Yeah, maybe I was still like horrified from the at least he wasn't riding a horse. Yeah, like the horse experience. I don't know what it was, but I had a totally different take. And the funny thing is, we talked about it a lot with Angie too, like on breakfast and stuff, because it was like right after. But okay, give me your take on the whole Mo versus Klopp on the touchline.
I think it's two people, Klopp and Mo, who have a bit of an ego to them at times, clashing in that moment, and then fans reacting to it even more poorly than usual because of Mo's recent bad form and the form of the season where it's at. If the club was doing well, let's say they hadn't dropped many points, right? Maybe a couple draws and mostly wins, and Mo didn't get a start, and he was upset about that, and they had a bit of the tiff, even though Liverpool's doing well. Fans are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's Mo. He's just a bit hungry, and that's just who he is. But now that we're in this slump, Mo's in this slump, all of a sudden, everyone's looking at him like this petulant child. Klopp made you. How could you? But I think I'm on your side of the fence. I think people are blowing it way up. I think
Come on over, jump over, buddy.
I think it's ridiculous to see how quickly everyone's like, "Oh, fuck you, Mo. You don't know anything. Like, what have you done?" And just like all of a sudden, you're like, "What? Wait, because he didn't give Klopp a high five right away, and then Klopp gave him an earful about not giving him a high five, and then they both got into it. That's what it is."
And what is about this? No. Disgraceful, disrespectful. He's part of the leadership team. Players like Elliot look up to him. See, okay, let's start with that last sentence over there. Why is it okay? This is all blown up because one, oh no, we suck again. Going back to that meme, right? And two, Klopp is leaving. These are the only two factors. If Klopp was sticking around, one, I don't think Klopp is handling this himself like that. If he is sticking around, because he's thinking more long term. This is a guy who already put in his 2 weeks, so he's kind of like doing it that way. Why is Klopp digging into him right then? I think we all have people in our lives, maybe our better halves or whoever, or somebody at work, where when they're in a certain mood, you just let them be, right? He did not have to go back at him and say, he said something. It will eventually come out. I have not heard what it is yet. I just heard a couple of like memes and stuff like that. But he said something that really got under Mo's skin, and he didn't have to say that. And we'd always talk about man management and stuff like that. Why is dressing down your player is okay, and it would not be okay. I just don't understand why. There's no blame going to Klopp of how he handled that there, because there's the cold high five. He gives him a cold shoulder, right? Yeah. And if somebody gives you a cold shoulder, yeah, you can let it go there, because the game is we freaking just conceded because we can't defend for some reason and we can't protect the leads. We first of all, it takes forever to get a lead anyway because we always concede first. So there's other shit to worry about over there than how happy Mo is at that time, and he's clearly not happy. Why did he just go at him? There is what I don't understand. We talk about, so it's okay for a manager to do it publicly, but not a player to do it publicly. If you're going to come at me publicly, I'm going to respond publicly. So I don't understand why, but it goes back to what you're saying. If Klopp wasn't leaving, if we were doing really well, this would be Mo wanting to win. He just wants to go out there and score goals. It's all like winning thing. Hendo has done this. Milner has done this. Mo has done this before. How many times has Mo come out and not shaking a hand and just gone and powdered on the sideline and stuff like that? It's nothing new. It's a big deal now because we are not doing so hot.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it kind of hurts to see the fan base kind of attack the situation, then attack each other. And I think all in all, it's just because it's ending in such a bittersweet way, it's making everything worse. And I think that's the most disappointing thing is it's hitting on many different nerves that it didn't necessarily need to hit on. And then now we've got people arguing against each other. We've got this and that. And, and then the story coming out today about Mo staying for another year, about his contract, possibly extension, whatever the case might be. I don't know. It just, for me, I saw the discourse that we had on Discord about it right away. And to me, I was thinking, yeah, I probably didn't want to see that. But at the same time, I wasn't attacking Mo like everyone else was right away. It just seemed like a very odd response.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brian. It's definitely blown out of proportion. But I blame the fans for blowing out of proportion. And the only reason the fans are blowing out of proportion is because we're not doing well. If you were doing well, I don't think that would be, this would not be an issue. It would not be talked about. We wouldn't care. we were like, oh, whatever, Mo just wants to. That's just Mo, that's the Mo we like and stuff like that. Mo was scoring goals. I mean, he clearly said something, right? He clearly said something because it's done initially, but then he comes out and says something again, and that's when Nunez, even though he doesn't understand probably what he's being said, he's like, hold on.
He can read body language.
Yes, credit to him. Yeah, I think he can read that. Yeah, credit to him. He kind of says, okay, it's your turn. Go, hit the stage. It's our time, kind of a thing. But he says something. I don't know what he said. I just feel like people talk shit about Pep when he was dressing down Grealish after a game. And it was like, oh, Pep would, Klopp would never do this publicly and stuff like that. Well, I mean, he could have just, and I think Klopp would have handled that much differently if he was not leaving and maybe Mo wasn't leaving or Mo. I mean, I just feel like you would be like, there's 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in the locker room, whatever. Go out there, prove me wrong, and we'll talk about it later, is what I would.
There's because I think Ryan was asking what was said because, we weren't able to hear anything, but there's a video from a fan's point of view where the cold shoulder was given, right? And then they they separated a bit. And then Klopp went back and said something and then turned back. And then he turned and said something again. And then that's when Mo was starting to give it back to him. So I don't care what was said. Klopp never had to go back to that situation twice to make it worse. I don't know. It just, I feel like.
I'm not excusing Mo either.
No. And that's.
But, why poke the bear? First of all, I mean, if you talk about man management and stuff, like I say, I don't think Klopp manages it the way he did if he was sticking around. I think he approaches it differently. But see, we can't have this. Maybe Mo deserved to be yelled at. What? Because he didn't high five? Because Mo didn't say anything aside from giving him the cold shoulder right there, right then. He didn't say anything apart from being the cold shoulder. And if you're gonna say something over there, why don't you just wait? He made the situation public. Mo did not make the situation public. So now everybody to say, oh, first of all, this whole Klopp made Mo thing, like, why does it have to be like that? I would think
Mo was Klopp's second choice.
Made Klopp either. What?
Mo was Klopp's second choice. Klopp wanted Julian Brandt.
Yes,
we forget that. I mean, so it could have gone a different way.
And it's not like one or the other. I feel like it's not like I'm saying like Mo made Klopp either. It's just kind of like a good relationship that fucking worked well for both of them. And I'm not understanding the over the top hate. And I don't think if this happens like 6 months from now and he does it to Slot, everybody would be like, Slot should respect a legend of the team and stuff like that. Is what's gonna happen. If Slot did the same thing to Mo, Mo's not getting blamed. Slot is getting blamed. And that's, I think, the biggest challenge for Slot, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Sergi said something about being old school and raised to respect teachers and managers. I mean, let's not pretend that, we're sitting here saying don't respect your elders or don't respect your leaders. But if I'm sitting there and I'm getting something thrown at me or yelled at me that I frankly don't care for, I might tell someone to just shut up or, just tell them to just chill out for a little bit. I'm not going to you can't just sit there and take it all the time. There has to be, everyone has that point. And with the season being especially towards the end, being as tumultuous as it has been, it probably didn't take much for Mo to blow up a little bit. And unfortunately, he blew up in the way he did, and then everything else blew up, and it is what it is. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this summer.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan says I'm just pissed that Mo has been complete trash. And my thing is, I'm sure Mo is as well. I mean, I'm sure Mo knows. We know Mo. I mean, apparently nobody does now. Everybody has forgotten about it. But the dude is ridiculous expectations on himself. I mean, that's like before the season, he wants to get so many goals, so many assists, blah, blah, blah. He's very self-determined. But then, well, he has to be in there to be able to do that. And that's probably even more frustrating. If you're not able to do something, right, you're not doing well, you want to be like, let me try again. Nope, you can't try again. But that has to be even more frustrating. And I'm not saying like he should have started, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the dude is in poor form. His first freaking poor form in how many freaking years, by the way, But then, Nunez really tries. He runs a lot, is what we give him over there. This is probably like the first time I remember Mo in an extended poor run. So I just don't understand the overall top hate. I can understand why he is frustrated. And like I say, if we talk about good man management, you don't go to a frustrated guy and make him even more frustrated. Let him get his frustration out on the pitch. And you have 10 minutes afterwards, then in the dressing down in the locker room or whatever you got to do. I mean, I don't know. And I'm not saying Klopp is at fault either. I feel like they're both at fault. And if Klopp wasn't leaving, and if Klopp wasn't Klopp, and he would protect. And how do we take Mo and just make him? I'm trying to think of somebody who has been like Ozan Kabak or something like that. Suddenly there was like, oh, he just happened to be there, kind of a thing. I just feel like, it's a lack of effort, says Ryan. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like a lack of confidence more than. What do you think, by the way, is Mo's like reason? We talked about this a little bit, I think, last Monday in terms of like age and stuff like that. Do you think it is really age? Because I mean, he didn't age in 2 months. Like he didn't age 5 years in 2 months, did he?
No, but if you add in an injury, that could change the way that you come back, and maybe he was just rushed back a bit too early with Brentford, and then they had to sideline him again. So who knows? Maybe that was the moment that solidified his decline more than it probably should have. But yeah, his game has to change a little bit, and that could be frustrating. But what doesn't change, what doesn't have to change, is the confidence in the finishing. Like taking that touch against Atalanta and not shitting it off over the keeper wide 10 yards. That doesn't have to change, but maybe because he's so frustrated, it's just not clicking. And I think that's a big part of it, is just frustration leading into lack of confidence.
I mean poor form happens, right? And I think when you play, you kind of know too. It's not like lack of effort. Ryan says no. I just saw this as I was saying what I was saying, but I don't think, but that affects everything. I just see like a guy who's extremely frustrated because he knows he's in really poor form and he knows who can do better.
If hypothetical that we'll never ever be able to answer, if Luis Diaz scores that 1-on-1 against City after that pass from Mo, does everything from there, do we still see the same sort of shit that we're going through right now? Do we still end up kind of where we're at with how awful everything's been, or does that moment change everything?
Yeah, right. I mean, there's so many moments like that where you were like, you can go back in the season. I mean, and that's one of them that Mo created on top of everything. But man, this Mane love, we were okay. This is what's this revisionist thing is. This is what's just killing me with fans over the last like month over here. You cannot change your mind on everything that you agreed on 3 months ago because of a poor form in 1 month. That's bullshit. And that kind of like aggravates me, that we were okay with who we chose. We chose Mo over Mane, and everybody was okay with that. We can't go back now, fucking like 2 years later or whatever, and say, oh, we should have kept the other one, which we shouldn't have. We picked the right guy. What did Mane do since he left?
He's failed in Saudi Arabia. That's what he's done.
Yeah, exactly. He's not jack. He went to Germany, didn't do jack. He went to Saudi Arabia, didn't do jack. So can we stop this freaking Mane love? And then everything else. Mo came back in that Brentford game. We were like, Mo's back. We're gonna kick ass and stuff. And he gets started. Everything changes. It just kills me how we forgot everything that happens the last 3 years because of 1 month. And then when people you read everything that people say about Mo now, right? These are the same people that will talk shit when a player goes and signs a contract somewhere else for more money and stuff. Where is the loyalty and stuff? This is our loyalty to Mo. Get the hell out of here. Like this shit I read, if that's your loyalty to a player, get the hell out of here. And why? Because he wasn't happy about being subbed in the 85th minutes and he kind of like backlashed a little bit. This is the same guy Hendo did this at the United game. I had totally forgotten about that. Somebody posted it online and I was like, I remember that. Remember that famous Milner moment when he comes out, gives an attitude. Jones comes in and he scores, but Milner has not even hit the freaking bench yet.
Yeah.
Because he's bitching and arguing about it publicly to Klopp. But he was one of the best captains ever, which I agree. He was one of the best captains ever. So why the double standard? So I ask you, why the double standard? Is basically, I think it's just form and nothing else. If we were winning, nobody would care.
Yeah. If Mo goes on and scores a goal, no one cares either. I think that's also part of it, is because everyone was then expecting for Mo to do his talking on the pitch, so to speak. And so because there wasn't a goal involvement after that, it gets blown up even more. But if he goes in and he scores or he assists, I don't think this moment is as talked about, in at least as negatively. It's more like, oh, look at Klopp getting the most out of Mo before he got on. He pissed him off just enough to get him angry to get on that field and score a goal. We would have been giving Klopp more praise, right? That's because
way to piss him off.
Because for the last 9-10 years, Klopp is, I mean, I don't want anyone to twist this. I love Klopp. He's been absolutely incredible for the club, but some people treat him as this messiah that can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes he does do wrong, and that's okay. People can do wrong sometimes. They're only human. But I can only envision now, if Salah does score, everyone's praising Klopp for bringing that fire out of him.
And I think that's the big. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, though, right? I mean, you gotta, if anything, you gotta give Klopp. I mean, doing that where you are viewed as that and nothing you do is questioned is a huge task to do, and you got to earn that. So you got to give him credit just on that. I was telling Angie, it's kind of like, when like a band makes like a hit song and an album, and they do another one afterwards, they can just fart and record it, and everybody will like, oh, did you see the echo and the fart there? It's just they're so good. And that's basically what happens. So like, then you can do no wrong. That's the biggest challenge, I think, of any new manager, regardless of who he is, because now it's going to be him and not the players. This would have been Slot can't handle Mo. He's not good working with superstars. If this happened to Slot like 6 months from now and stuff, which let's get to that. Will it happen 6 months from now? Ryan says a month ago that he would take Mo and Verge over Trent. I was wrong, based 100% of his efforts. If you can get 150 million for him, sell in a heartbeat. See, this is another thing. Man, you guys are driving me nuts. Like, everybody's selling everybody. Not Ryan necessarily, but like, I've heard people say, like, sell all of them. It's like, what the hell is wrong with people? Like, 3 months ago, this was the best squad ever. And now sell all of them. And that's what I mean. Like, and then we want players to be loyal. They're like, oh, he's not loyal, using it for the money. Yeah, because he knows one bad month you're going to be kicking his ass and you're going to be throwing him to the curb. So why would he? I would just take the contract as well. Ryan says Mo is already gone. Not according to David. David says, and here's the thing. I mean, he's usually pretty darn reliable. Usually, but even I find this as somebody trying to put the word out from one camp or another, like maybe like Mo's camp trying to get the word out there. What do you think? Because I think we all assumed in some ways, right? I mean, or this could be Liverpool getting this out, so this price stays high. I think there's a benefit for everybody to get the story out rather than like nobody's getting hurt by the story at all. So where do you see, like, when you saw that news, what did you think?
He wants another year of the Champions League, baby. some more Anfield Champions League magic coming your way. No, I think it's fine. I like the news because it's also difficult to know what's going to happen this summer when we're talking about so many changes. It's difficult to know what kind of changes we're looking into. Obviously, the formation could change a little bit. It all depends on what we're looking at on the pitch. If we can move Mo into an area where he's not just touching the end line anymore on the sides on the right wing, then it could work, because his best years were about him beating players off the dribble on that right side and then cutting into the left. But those years are sort of behind him now, and but he's still a good playmaker, because he can still make a good pass. He can still find the right pass when he wants to. So maybe playing him more through the middle in a way to allow him to do that could help. But also, then you lose the likes of maybe Gakpo through the middle. That could be really nice, or Jota through the middle when he's ever healthy. So I don't know. I like the idea of having him just in case, because even then, if you do extend the contract, it allows you some more time to still be able to sell him and get something for him. If you don't extend the contract and he stays for another year and he walks, then you don't get anything for him. And then what do you do?
Yeah, I mean that's the problem, right? If you're gonna keep him, if he's staying, you gotta sign him to an extension because then you don't want him to walk either. And I don't think
Right.
Edwards lets that happen. I think that's one of the main reasons Edwards and Klopp did not get along because Klopp wanted to reward players and like give them extensions and stuff like that, or let them play out their contract if they want to be here, kind of an ordeal. Whereas Edwards was more about, I mean, profiting and not letting people just walk off with nothing. So that's the tricky part. You would have to sign him to an extension. And in some ways, we kind of assume, like Ryan was saying earlier, I think you kind of like see that interaction, and everybody's assumption is, oh, they're both leaving anyway. But if you look at it from Mo's side, I think Sparky was saying earlier, Mo could be like, you're going to be gone anyway, dude, but I'm going to be here. So, and I think, I think Sparky was mentioning it earlier that I think it is a sign that maybe the poor form and whatever has happened, maybe, yeah, I mean, this is basically this whole thing about him, Klopp leaving at the end of the season is kind of like getting to these guys, and maybe things are not as hunky-dory in the background anymore. Or I've said this before, like winning always glosses over things, right? I mean, anybody who's played in a team sport, you're not going to like everybody. There's going to be some people that get under your skin that you don't like certain aspects about them. But on the pitch, whatever, you do the stuff together, right? And if you win, everything is good because you can kind of look over that shit. But then if things are going south, those little things that irk you become even bigger. And that's when the disagreements and stuff. And that's why it's a vicious cycle, because you can go united and go in that cycle over and over and over again. And that's when, that's what makes, I think, Klopp special. You can get a guy who kind of like switches that cycle and starts rolling it uphill, and then things are more positive. You get small victories. Everybody made fun of him. Was that West Bromwich Albion or Queen's Park Rangers that we came back and tied 2-2 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody made fun of him at the time, but those were all like little building blocks to start rolling that thing uphill. And that's what I think kind of makes him special, that he's been able to turn that cycle around. But do you think, what is your gut saying about Mo for next season? I do agree with Sparky, by the way, that's another reason I'm happy that we already have the manager and stuff.
Yeah.
So he can start right away, and we don't have to wait till after the Euros. They're going to go after the sky, blah, 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 kind of a thing. So things can be done early in the season. But go ahead.
I think barring any forward purchases, I think extending Mo would be the right thing to do. I don't think a new contract should be offered for more money or anything like that. But if you can at least keep him at the same contract he's at now, but extend it a year, then I think that would be the best thing to do. Because when it comes down to it, especially before AFCON, he, along with Jota, they're our best natural goal scorers, right? You have Diaz and Nunez. You don't have that much confidence in the end product as much as you do with Jota or Salah usually. So I think if you're not going to have any purchases on the forward side, then you want to make sure that you have a guy that you feel like can bury a shot when needs to be. And I know it seems crazy to say that for the last 2-3 months because of what we've seen, but before AFCON, he was on fire, and that's how it was the 2 years ago. Right before AFCON, he was one of the best players in the world. And then, went to AFCON, and unfortunately, Egypt they lost to Senegal like 3 times in the span of a month or something. And I think that broke him that year. And so, unfortunately, every time there's an AFCON competition, it just seems like he comes back in poorer form. But when he's on, man, he's on. And so I think it would be nice to have, and maybe it could make the transition a little bit easier or smoother for Slot, knowing that he still has potentially one of the best players to ever played for Liverpool still there. But of course, I just sit in a chair near Chicago, and I don't know much of what I'm talking about.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like if anything that you miss about Sergi misses about Mane is the fact that it would be nice if all the eggs were not in Mo's basket and we had other strikers who are actually finishing. Like, if Nunez could score a couple of, like, in the situations that he gets into, where half of them Mo puts him into, if he finishes those, it really glosses over most poor form because you're still scoring. I mean, we've had that, right? Like, there are times where, suddenly freaking, like, Mane is on a roll, like he scores 4 games in a row and stuff like that, and and then you gotta have. I think the fact that we have to wait everything to come from Mo, we put ourselves in the situation because you're not getting anything from Nunez, you're not getting anything, you're not getting the finishing from Diaz, you're getting a lot of efforts, and he's probably been the most consistent. But that says a lot by itself, right? Like, your most consistent guy is the guy
Right.
who's not finishing well. Salah's thing is great news. First big injury in 6 years. That's another thing. First time he has been out of form. Yes, as I was saying, yes, short memories are ridiculous. See, we even call Miss Ryan. He loves Mo again. And I consider that a successful episode where we can bring Ryan back and then convince him to go back. Okay, so it is Monday. It's grooming day. Who's getting groomed?
It is
That's the
me.
Polish Prince. You are getting groomed.
I'm getting groomed.
Don't ride a horse to the barber. all I can suggest.
I'm full in. I'm going for the Arnie slot. Next Monday, you're going to see a different man.
You know what? If Slot comes in and wins the title in his first season, I'm going Slot.
Yes, you heard it here. You heard it here.
49th.
Yes.
I think I heard Angel scream downstairs when she heard that. But yeah, if Slot comes in, wins the title in his first season, I'm going Slot. I'm a bit more little, so I'm probably end up Ten Hag, but still. Still, it's gonna be the same look at the end of the day. But yeah, I'll be back tonight with the gang, Bickler and Galley. I'm sure this will be a conversation. The whole Mo thing, be a conversation with Slots. We might even get to some of the Premier League stuff. I know. I think Cersei was mentioning about the whole captain, which is the end of a disaster. It's the beginning of the end. I feel like if they do the whole salary cap NBA thing going, hopefully there's a bit more tweaks to it than NBA does. But we'll get to that as well. 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern. Ride your horse into the sunsets, onto the barber, and then I'll see you guys tonight.
And I want to make sure that we get this out here. It's the first bit of truth ever spoken on here. I'm just a guy sitting in a chair in Chicago. What do I know?
That's cold. See, that's cold. See, now he's gonna cry on his way to the barber. Why would you?
I'm not gonna cry. He's right. I don't know what I'm talking about usually. I know who I am. I know what I know.
Get our freaking Mo's back, people. Jesus Christ. Okay, well, you head on over there. I still have to recover from the weekends, and but I'll hopefully make it tonight. 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern. Do join us then, and have a great week, everybody. Take care.